The CEO fired the single dad janitor, then discovered he and her father founded the company. The sound of the termination letter trembling in his hand seemed louder than the bustling lobby around him. Michael Carter stood silently beside his janitor cart, staring at the piece of paper that had just shattered the fragile life he had spent years rebuilding. Across from him, CEO Victoria Bennett stood firm, her expression cold and impatient. Employees watched from a distance. Some looked uncomfortable. Others looked away. Michael had cleaned these floors before sunrise for nearly 12 years. He had worked through sickness, grief, and exhaustion. He had raised his young daughter alone after losing his wife. Yet none of that seemed to matter anymore. One misunderstanding. One accusation. One signature. And his career was over. But what nobody in that marble-covered headquarters knew was that the company itself carried a secret buried deep within its history. A secret that connected Michael to the very foundation of the empire Victoria now controlled. And when that truth finally surfaced, it would change both of their lives forever. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and treating people with respect no matter their position, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs inspiration, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories. The story began in Chicago, Illinois, where Bennett Technologies occupied an entire glass skyscraper overlooking the city skyline. The company was worth billions and employed thousands of people across the United States. Victoria Bennett had become CEO after her father, Richard Bennett, retired due to declining health. At only 38 years old, she had built a reputation for being brilliant, ambitious, and ruthlessly efficient. Unfortunately, efficiency often came at the expense of compassion. Victoria believed emotions weakened leadership. She believed results mattered more than people. Most employees respected her success but feared her presence. Meanwhile, Michael Carter lived in a modest apartment on the south side of Chicago with his 14-year-old daughter, Grace. Every morning, he woke at 4:30, prepared breakfast, packed Grace's school lunch, and headed to work before sunrise. Life wasn't easy. Medical bills from his late wife's illness had drained their savings years ago. Michael worked overtime whenever possible. Some nights he barely slept. Yet despite the hardships, he never complained. His daughter was his world. Every sacrifice felt worthwhile when he saw her smile. One rainy Monday morning, Grace experienced a severe asthma attack before school. Michael rushed her to the hospital. Hours passed in emergency care. By the time doctors stabilized her condition, Michael realized he was already late for work. He immediately called his supervisor. Unfortunately, the supervisor was unavailable. Michael left several messages and rushed downtown. When he finally arrived, he was nearly 3 hours late. That happened to be the exact morning Victoria Bennett decided to conduct an unannounced inspection of company operations. As she toured the building, she noticed unfinished cleaning assignments on multiple floors. Her frustration grew. Managers scrambled to explain. Someone mentioned that the responsible janitor had arrived late. Victoria demanded immediate action. Without asking questions. Without reviewing circumstances. Without hearing Michael's side of the story. She ordered his termination. By noon, Michael stood in the lobby holding the letter that ended 12 years of loyal service. The humiliation cut deeper than the job loss itself. Employees watched him gather his belongings. Some wanted to defend him. None dared challenge the CEO. Michael quietly pushed his janitor cart toward the service elevator one last time. His eyes were filled not with anger but sadness. He wasn't worried about himself. He was worried about Grace. Rent was due in 2 weeks. School expenses were increasing. And now their only source of income had disappeared. That evening, Michael returned home carrying a forced smile. Grace immediately sensed something was wrong. She saw the pain hidden behind his tired eyes. Michael sat beside her at the kitchen table and explained everything. Neither of them spoke for several moments. The silence felt heavy. Then Grace reached across the table and squeezed his hand. In that simple gesture, Michael found enough strength to keep going. The following weeks were difficult. Job applications produced little success. Most employers wanted younger workers. Others offered wages too low to support a family. Bills began piling up. Michael sold personal belongings to cover expenses. He skipped meals so Grace could eat properly. Still, he refused to lose hope. Unknown to him, events inside Bennett Technologies were moving toward a remarkable discovery. Several weeks after Michael's dismissal, Richard Bennett visited company headquarters. Retirement had weakened his body, but his mind remained sharp. During a meeting with senior executives, Richard noticed a familiar name on an old employee report. Michael Carter. The name triggered an immediate memory. Richard requested personnel files. Minutes later, he sat frozen in disbelief. His hands trembled. His eyes filled with tears. Because Michael Carter wasn't just another employee. Decades earlier, before Bennett Technologies became a billion-dollar corporation, Richard had founded the company alongside his best friend. That friend was Thomas Carter. Michael's father. Together, Richard and Thomas had built the company from a tiny warehouse with borrowed money and impossible dreams. They worked endless hours. They survived failures. They celebrated victories. They trusted each other completely. Then tragedy struck. Thomas died unexpectedly in a car accident while Michael was still a child. Devastated by grief, Richard continued growing the company. Over time, communication with Thomas's family faded. Years passed. The business expanded. And eventually, the connection was lost. Until now. Richard immediately began investigating. The truth shocked him even further. Michael had never mentioned his father's role. Never demanded recognition. Never sought special treatment. Instead, he had quietly accepted a janitor position years earlier after financial hardship destroyed his previous career. He had spent over a decade cleaning the halls of a company his own father helped create. And then he had been fired. Richard demanded to know why. When Victoria explained the situation, confidence drained from her face. For the first time, she heard the full story. The hospital visit. Grace's asthma attack. The unanswered phone messages. The years of loyal service. The sacrifices of a single father. Each detail felt like another stone added to the weight forming inside her chest. Richard looked at his daughter with disappointment she had never seen before. Then he showed her old photographs. 2 young men standing beside a tiny office. One was Richard. The other was Thomas Carter. Both smiling. Both dreaming. Both founders. Victoria stared at the photographs in stunned silence. Suddenly, Michael was no longer an invisible employee. He was the son of the men whose sacrifices helped build the company she now led. Yet what haunted her most wasn't his family connection. It was realizing she had failed to treat him like a human being. For days, guilt consumed her thoughts. She replayed the moment in the lobby over and over. The look in Michael's eyes. The quiet dignity. The absence of bitterness. Eventually, she made a decision. She needed to find him. Not as a CEO. As a person seeking forgiveness. After several attempts, Victoria located Michael at a small community center where he had begun volunteering while searching for work. When she arrived, she found him helping children with homework. His patience and kindness immediately stood out. The children adored him. Victoria watched silently before approaching. Michael recognized her instantly. The memory of his firing remained painful. Yet he greeted her politely. Victoria apologized. Not with corporate language. Not with public relations statements. With genuine remorse. She admitted her mistake. She admitted her arrogance. She admitted she had judged him without understanding his circumstances. For a long moment, Michael said nothing. Then he spoke about responsibility. About forgiveness. About how carrying anger only creates more suffering. Victoria felt tears forming. Because despite everything she had done, Michael showed her more grace than she deserved. A week later, Bennett Technologies held a company-wide gathering. Thousands of employees attended in person and online. Rumors circulated throughout the organization. Nobody knew exactly what was happening. Victoria stepped onto the stage. She publicly acknowledged the company's history. She shared photographs of Richard Bennett and Thomas Carter. She told employees about the friendship that launched the business decades earlier. Then she invited Michael Carter to join her. The auditorium erupted into applause. Many employees stood. Some wiped away tears. Victoria formally apologized before the entire company. Then she announced several changes. Michael's termination was officially reversed. He was offered a senior community outreach leadership position created specifically to support employees facing personal hardships. Scholarship programs would be established in Thomas Carter's memory. Emergency family assistance programs would also be expanded. But the most emotional moment came when Richard Bennett slowly walked onto the stage. The elderly founder embraced Michael in front of everyone. The 2 men stood together, united by memories, history, and loss. Richard's voice shook as he spoke about Thomas. About friendship. About loyalty. About never forgetting the people who helped build our dreams. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Months later, life looked very different. Grace's health improved. Michael found purpose in helping struggling employees navigate difficult times. The programs he helped create positively impacted hundreds of families. Victoria transformed as a leader. She still pursued excellence. But now she understood something far more important. People were not obstacles to success. People were the reason success mattered. Before we reach the end, I have a special request. Please comment the word kindness below if you believe every person deserves to be treated with dignity, regardless of their job title or income. Years later, visitors entering Bennett Technologies would notice a framed photograph displayed prominently in the lobby. It showed 2 young founders standing side by side in front of a tiny warehouse. Beneath the photograph was a simple message. Great companies are built by great people. Never forget either. Michael often walked past that photograph on his way to work. Each time, he smiled. Not because his father had helped found the company. Not because he had been recognized. But because something far more valuable had been restored. Humanity. Respect. And the understanding that every person carries a story we cannot see. And sometimes, the person standing quietly in the background may be connected to the very foundation beneath our feet. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or reminded you of the power of compassion and second chances, please like the video, leave a comment, share it with friends and family, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more meaningful stories to life. And remember, the true measure of a person is not how they treat powerful people, but how they treat those who seem to have no power at all.